Good afternoon. This is Audrey Russo. It's a Monday. Happy to see everyone here. I run the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and I'm joined by Jonathan Kirsting. He is the Vice President of all things media. And we are pretty thrilled about kicking off a Monday with what we're calling TechVibe Talent. And it's our special edition of Business as Usual. And we're going to be focusing on some talent needs with two really great people who have the frontline view of what's happening in terms of tech in their respective companies. So thank you all for joining. So I want to give a shout out and appreciation for Huntington Bank, Deloitte, and Sheets, who actually are sponsors of Business as Usual. And if you don't know any of them, you really should. Huntington has been with us right from the onset and been helping lots and lots of companies through the pandemic times and beyond in terms of the Small Business Association related loans. And then we also have Deloitte, who's very active in the innovation community through their regular services, as well as providing the kind of support to the local ecosystem. And then there's Sheets. Sheets, actually, if you don't know Sheets by now, you should. But one thing about Sheets is they're always working on innovation, and they actually have an innovation center located in Pittsburgh. So I wanted to give a big shout about that. So just some programming notes. We have some great upcoming sessions this week. Tomorrow we're hosting our friends from the Beauty Shop, who just received some ink today about Arsenal Motors, which is it's their new co-working space in Lawrenceville. They'll be joined by tomorrow's program by JLL and IKM Architects as we talk about what's the future of commercial real estate in the optimism of post-pandemic, but certainly during the pandemic, but what happens in the future. And then Wednesday, we're going to talk to two prominent operators of skilled nursing homes. And why is that so important? Because that is really where a lot of the epidemic and the pandemic have occurred in nursing homes. And we flattened the curve for a little while, and now it's back up. So we thought it was really important because each and every one of us are certainly touched by people who are older than us and are more vulnerable. And so we're going to be shouting loud and strong to talk about what the issues are there. And then Thursday, we have Mayor Peduto, and he's going to help us celebrate our 100th session that we're doing. I just can't even believe it. And then we're going to wrap up the week with Travis Sheets. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Sheets. So we'll get a chance. This is a great week, and we'll get a chance to hear about what's happening there. So a couple of things. Microphones are muted. We just don't want to hear anything in the background if we can help it. You may hear Jonathan's dogs, but other than that, it'll be pretty quiet. And we also have a chat. So we're going to use this chat as an opportunity for you to ask your questions of our two guests. So I am going to jump right in and tell you about who the two people are here today. We're joined by Han Fan. He is a SHRM, which is Society of Human Resource Management Professional, SCP, and he's a senior technical recruiter at TeleTracking. And Will Freker, he's Director of Consulting Services at CGI. Both of these organizations have several hundred people in our region at least, and they'll talk a little bit more about who they are and what kind of talent that they're looking for. So we're calling it TechVibe Talent, as I mentioned earlier, and it's designed to showcase companies that are growing and onboarding people during this pandemic. So we're gonna just enough said in terms of my intro. And so with that, I'm gonna start with Will, and then I'll bring Han on. And good afternoon, Will. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate your time with us, and would love for you to take some time to just introduce yourself, talk about your role at CGI, share about the company's mission and some of the history in Pittsburgh, including there was an acquisition of a tech company. So sure. Thank you, Will.
Yeah. So CGI is an international company. We are pretty much across the globe. We have over 77,000 consultants currently. Started off with 2 in Canada quite some time ago. Office started off pretty small. So we came in here. We're pretty focused on the financial service and banking industry. The acquisition that she's referring to is a company called Summa Technologies, which is a bit of a bigger footprint here. And a result of that, last year we actually created an innovation center here in Pittsburgh for CGI. So CGI was one of the first, or Pittsburgh was one of the first innovation centers for CGI in the US. We're pretty proud of that. My role, I'm a Director of Consulting Services, primarily in the banking financial services industry here. My career, I've been pretty much in every industry that there is in IT. I have a lot of experience with bringing on our college grads. So a lot of my team are made up of college grads. I also have experienced people as well. But for some reason, they thought I was a good fit to do the college grad thing. So they get.
You can relate to the kids, right?
Yeah. And we have a really nice program for onboarding folks. It's not just college grads, also people who are changing careers or getting to a different industry, going through boot camps to take up the new. We have a really solid program about that for quite a few companies. And this company does that very well, from getting the people who are new to the industry up to speed.
So what kinds of positions in terms of college grads?
So our college grads, typically we're either looking for developers, business analysts, or testers. Our hot, but outside of the college grad piece right now, if you're a Java full stack developer, we got you yesterday. So we're bringing on about 8 people every week right now. So it's not down at all.
Wait, you're bringing on 8 people a week that are just out of college, or 8 people?
Oh no, total onboarding. So,
okay.
So our onboarding program, typically we run a summer and a fall, or sorry, a winter and a fall.
Okay.
We just wrapped one up. We'll be starting another one in the fall. We get between 10 and 15 people through those. We take them through that whole SOAR program. It is a pretty extensive program, and I can go into more detail on that later if you'd like.
So is the CGI footprint trying to grow in this region?
Yeah, so Pittsburgh is a huge area for CGI. One of our local clients here is actually the second largest in all of CGI account-wise in all 40 countries that we're in. So it's a pretty important region. So the way CGI is broken up is we're broken up into they're called strategic business units. And that's designed to give the local presence, so you're close to your people. We've kind of done a little bit around that and leveraged the rest of the network by this remote capability lately. But primarily our focus is to be close to the clients. So the Great Lakes Business Unit, which is what Pittsburgh is part of, the center of that is Pittsburgh, but we also go into Ohio, Michigan, and Western Pennsylvania focuses that area. So it gives you that feel where we are a very large company, but it's still very entrepreneurial focused. And you have that feel that you're in a startup, but you have the backing of a large institutional firm.
Okay, that's great. So let me bring Han on. Han, and I introduced Han briefly, but what I'd like to do is, Han, I want to ask you the same question. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at TeleTracking, how long you've been there, and what you're recruiting for and the mission of the organization. So thanks.
Sure, absolutely. Great. Thank you, Audrey. Yeah, so my name is Han. I work in the People and Culture Department here at TeleTracking, primarily responsible for recruiting on the technical side, as well as helping with just general HR duties and responsibilities. So TeleTracking has been around since, I'd say about 1991, and we're a Pittsburgh homegrown company. We're based here in downtown Pittsburgh. And, we've been growing tremendously, especially in the past couple months, around just hiring a lot of engineering positions, as well as product management and a few marketing roles. So our organization, we really, focus around our mission statement, which is to ensure that no patient has to wait for the care they need. And essentially, our goal is to help with the overall operational efficiency of various hospitals and health systems. So what that means is, cutting down on patient wait times, tracking of hospital assets, equipments, rerouting of ambulatory services. And most recently, as you may have seen in the news, we're very much involved with HHS on a COVID-19 dashboard capacity and census data collection project. So as a result of all this, we have been quite busy in the last couple of months, as I mentioned before, hiring predominantly mostly software engineering roles at various skill levels, from entry level all the way to senior level positions, as well as several data engineer and big data type roles as well. On the product side, I know my colleague, she is quite busy with various roles on product management, whether it be product owners, product managers, project managers as well. So yeah, it's definitely been a hiring push in the last couple months.
Well, how has it been, Han? And then I'll go over to you, Will. How has it been since this pandemic? How has that affected hiring? What's changed? And how do you sort of convey what your culture is through, through this new world?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say it definitely has changed. I know from one of the first things we had to do was kind of position ourselves around the idea of working remotely. I know some of our teams internally, such as some of our engineering teams, are a little bit more accustomed to that than others, but trying to getting our own culture aligned, understanding that we have to work through Zoom calls or Slack channels, et cetera, and just kind of knowing that you had to build a relationship virtually. You don't have the luxury of having face-to-face interaction, bringing someone into the office and giving them a tour, getting an overall view of what it's like working there on a day-to-day basis. So in the candidate interview process that I'm involved in, I really had to drill down and kind of explain our culture and share with them of what we do, how we work remotely. And I asked them, as one of my questions typically is what are your thoughts about working remotely? Like, would you like to be ingrained into our team? What are some things that you would like to see? So just getting that together. All of our onboarding is done remotely as well. So we've been shipping all the equipment, anything that the employee needs to their home, and then we've done the training for our products pretty much every 2 weeks now. So all the new hires will kind of get together and they'll ask questions and get to learn. And it's definitely been tough. It's not easy to do it. It's definitely so-called the new norm now. I hear that a lot, but we've adjusted the best we can.
So that's sort of interesting. I never thought, I totally zoned out about that. So essentially, if I come to work for you, I'm going to get like a delivery.
Yeah, you'll get a pretty big box
a
of
laptop.
a laptop, some tchotchke goodies from TeleTracking, and a welcome package essentially. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. What all's in your welcome pack? That sounds interesting. I like that.
Yeah. So usually the employees will get some sort of backpack or suitcase type thing, depending on what they want to pick. Usually a shirt, like a T-shirt or something, some pens, a mug, anything else they requested through the onboarding paperwork. So certain equipment, monitors, whatever that they need in order to get their job and done. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Love it.
Are you hiring people that are from outside the region?
We are, yeah. We are, yeah.
Office?
Absolutely, yeah. So we made that shift for sure now for a lot of our roles. Actually, pretty much all now are all remotely. 100% remote is fine. You can work anywhere in the U.S. So yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's great. So now let's jump to Will. I'm going to ask you the same kind of questions. What it's like since the pandemic, and are you hiring remotely, et cetera?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we do tend to focus on that metro model, but this has extended the opportunity for us to go outside to other BUs, and we are hiring remote people as well now. So we are pretty much 100% remote with all of our clients at the moment. The transition for us wasn't actually that painful. We were in the middle of transitioning to Microsoft Teams. Thankfully, we finished that right when this started. So Teams is a bit more collaborative in nature than using X and Skype, and it just the one tool to have everything collaborate has really helped us out. And additionally, we are a global delivery company, so we're locally focused, but we have that global delivery capability. So when you work here, you may be working in Pittsburgh, but you're going to have the opportunity to work with people all over the world that'll be on your team as well.
So if you hire me and I'm located in Kansas City,
Mm-hmm.
you might hire me for the Pittsburgh office if I'm located in Kansas City?
So right now we would do that and leave you remote, correct? Long term, we don't know how this is going to play out. Under the regular model, we would prefer our people to be in the metro model and would obviously pay for that relocation.
Interesting. Or if they didn't want to locate, it'll be interesting to see how that works.
And we have offices everywhere too. So we could always find work for you. That's the one nice thing about this company is they'll find something for you somewhere if you want to be there.
Okay.
Other BUs, we market our people to all BUs. So the nice thing about CGI is you're considered a member, not an employee or a number.
Mm-hmm. So how do you when you're new, what kind of management processes do you have in terms of measurement of performance?
We are heavily involved. If you're not measuring it, you can't fix anything. So we measure everything here. We have several different assessment tools for all of our different stakeholders. For our customers, we have a member satisfaction that goes on every year as well, and then we have our stakeholders. So as far as measurement, we do have required checkpoints with all of our members, especially so that becomes more important now that we're remote. Different checkpoints where we're checking on people's progress, making sure everybody's okay, if they need anything. So, goals are specifically set that are measurable every year, and we have several meetings during the year to track those. It's not just a once and done thing. And really just having regular checkpoints with, especially in the COVID and remote environment, is having those regular checkpoints and sessions and virtual happy hours just to keep that personal contact going.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to Han, and then Jonathan, you see that question that Anita asked?
I do. That's a good one. I'm really excited to hear their response to these questions for sure. Should I ask the question out to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is curious. So Han, doesn't hiring from across the country hurt local talent? Is Han muted?
Han, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Yeah, I was
There you
muted.
go.
Yeah. So the question was, if I heard correctly, hiring talent from outside of Pittsburgh hurt local talent. Is that right, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Right. Or
Yeah.
the inverse. Does it help?
Oh, does it help? Okay. Yeah, sure. I think for us, our philosophy when it comes to hiring is, the best candidate for the job, regardless of where they are, right? I mean, obviously we want people in Pittsburgh. We want, people that can, that live here already and can help grow here. But given the circumstances, opening up nationwide and just being able to kind of see that, candidate pool from all over the country has definitely helped. I think it's a win-win. We interview all across the board, right? I know when I talk with the managers and directors, they prefer people that will eventually come to Pittsburgh, but they understand the situation, the matter at hand, right? And we've also seen that since we've worked remotely since about March now, pretty much all of our employees are working remotely. The productivity has actually gone up for a lot of our employees as well, surprisingly. So I think that they've factored it in, like, oh, the work can be done, wherever they're sitting, even at home, they're just as engaged, and we're getting a lot more work out of it, especially on the engineering team. So it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. And so there's a question that says, does TeleTracking consider product managers outside of the healthcare industry in terms of expertise?
That's a great question. I know the preference is someone who has worked in healthcare typically, because there's a lot of stuff and nuances you have to learn, within that area. But we have hired people who have not been, in the healthcare space as a product manager in the past as well. I can name, just come up, thinking of their names off the top of my head. So that is something that, we're open to. Mm-hmm.
So it's so interesting. So we recently had a CIO Insight Series where we have chief information officers get together, and we've now expanded and included some folks from Columbus. And the Columbus leaders said they're happy to have people from Pittsburgh work for some of the Columbus companies, and they can stay in Pittsburgh. And we said, yeah, we're happy to have the Columbus employees. But it just turns your head upside down when you think about growth is really important. And one of the things that we care about is growth and access to talent. So sometimes they are mutually exclusive and sometimes they're not. Any sense around that in terms of when you're talking to people and they are remote, is there a sense that they want to move to Pittsburgh, or that they're happy where they are and they'll just worry about it post-pandemic?
So right now, we have not historically had a problem getting people to come to Pittsburgh. It's a pretty good place to live. Weather, we all know the weather thing, but
weather's been great.
It's been awesome. It's like California.
This year is awesome. Yes, I agree. Typically people don't have a problem moving to Pittsburgh when we require. So we don't know how this is all going to play out long term though. So we don't have those answers right now. Right now we're leaving people, if they want to stay remote, they can stay remote. If they're in Wisconsin and we find them, they can work from Wisconsin. Columbus is actually in our business units area. So We have clients in Columbus also.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think you have a little office in Columbus. So
Mhm.
there's a question, Jonathan, about culture, which I think is pretty important when you're
Yeah.
trying to keep the culture as well as cultivate the culture.
Yeah. So, and either one can take this question, jump in. I think both of you guys should actually answer this because I think we're really curious. How do your companies build culture, and have you made shifts in the approach to having employees feel connected in a remote work environment? Like any creative ideas? You willing to share anything with the crowd here today?
Yeah. Yeah, I can start. So one of the things that I've seen since we started working remotely, our president and CEO have pretty much done weekly town hall meetings, at least once a week on a Wednesday, sometimes Friday, typically. And initially it started just talking about what we're seeing, around our company, what our goals are, what we're trying to get to, and then a lot about work with the government, and just open sessions, pretty much, of like questions, Q&A. People have questions about what we're doing this COVID crisis, what we're doing, with certain other things happening within our company. So I think that's helped a lot. I know within the department we've had happy hour Friday kind of things as well, which is kind of fun. So we'll play like Jackbox games on stream, or just have like a fun little like Jeopardy types, trivia type stuff. Just have fun, and I think it's good. It just breaks up the day, so that you're not just always about work and thinking through it. So it's great in this day and age. We have the technology and capabilities to do a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to do like 10, 20 years ago, right? And having this FaceTime interaction, I think once a week with your team and department, that's really helped, and we really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything that you want to add to that on your end, Will?
Yeah, it's very similar. As I mentioned earlier, we do the virtual happy hours. Teams has really facilitated us continuing that culture of us working together and collaborating together, being somewhat face-to-face still. We last week with our intern program, we just had, it was intern day last week, so we did a virtual family feud session. So we had two teams play against each other doing virtual family feud on there. So similar things to what he's mentioning. Our in-person meetings are just now happening over at Teams instead of in person, unfortunately. But still gives you that sense of being connected to everybody and keeping things enjoyable. As he said, it is difficult to pull. You feel like you're always connected when in the remote world. So you have to give people those chances to break that up a little bit.
Well, I think Suzanne Madura from CGI has actually given some other examples, if everyone can see on the chat, that they're creating lightning sessions aimed at candid conversations. So, in terms of a multitude of topics. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, just really listening, and with all the changes that have occurred within the pandemic timeframe and Black Lives Matter and the things that just sort of affect all of us during this period of time and beyond.
Yeah. The listening sessions started. The first ones that we had were around the whole diversity and racial inequality issues that are going on in America right now. So people had an open forum with our business unit senior VP to pretty much, it was a safe space. You could express your feelings no matter what side of the coin you were on, and get that out and really have open discussions about things like that.
Okay, good. So Han, what about you and your end? Anything that you want to talk about in terms of communication, listening, culture, and
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some
Yeah.
specific jobs that you're hiring for.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I know our president and our new chief human resources officer, chief people and culture, they're going to start having listening sessions as well, around especially the Black Lives Matter movement and among other areas as well, starting in about a week or two. That was actually brought up in our last town hall session last week. So, we definitely want to continue to engage, all of our employees. We've sent out Survey Monkeys probably every couple of weeks as well on various topics to kind of keep tabs on how they're doing, and certain ones that if they mark that they want someone from people and culture HR to follow up with them on certain areas. I've had many conversations with other employees as well, maybe going through some stressful times, whether personally, professionally, whatever it may be, just kind of making sure that everyone is still mentally okay as well, because it is tough, right? Because we're not used to working remotely so much and not having that face-to-face interaction and engagement with your fellow peers. So yeah, we do all kinds of different
Is
communication.
anyone working in the office? Is there any physical distance working in the office at either of these companies?
Yeah, so for
Yeah.
us, I think we only have our main IT, one of our senior IT folks works in the office. She basically helps set up the equipment and ship out all that stuff. And then one of our just property managers essentially is at the office. Pretty much everybody else is working remotely. If they need to come to the office, we have to let someone in people and culture know so that we can give our our main patron running the building a heads up, and that's pretty much it. But everybody else has pretty much been 100% remote since March.
So there's someone's asking, Marissa's asking, do you have any words of wisdom, Han, or key advice for small businesses learning the ropes while hiring remote?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say first and foremost is just setting expectations up front, right? I don't think we should be, wishy-washy about it. If a position is going to be remote, it's going to stay remote, tell them. If a position is going to be remote and eventually we'll have them travel to Pittsburgh once this pandemic is over, tell them that as well. I think honesty and transparency, trumps everything. That's the way we go about recruiting and making sure that, they understand the values of our company and our employees. And I think that's really, really critical to that. Branding is important as well. We had to shift a lot of our focus from like the typical college job fairs and recruiting through, other career fairs and moving that online. So we've participated obviously with you guys, PTC in a virtual fair. In the past, we've also done a lot of, spend on LinkedIn as well, and just kind of revisiting our brand and kind of sending out different types of, working closely with marketing, obviously, but sending out different types of, branding and reaching out to just tech talent all across the country. I've had all of our senior leaders, many of them architects and senior engineers in our company, kind of do, Q&A type question answer sessions with some of the candidates that are applying as well. So just making it just feel like, they have a way to reach us virtually.
So have either of you done any face-to-face hiring over the last couple of months?
Not at all.
So in a
All of our
place like-
interviews have been done
Yeah, in a
virtually.
place like Pittsburgh and many places in terms of relationships, they're pretty important. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the, whether we get to this post-COVID in the next few months or not. Do you have any estimated time where you think you're going to the office, or right now is that open for both of you?
So for us, it's pretty much client driven. So
Mhm.
as mentioned earlier, we like to be close to our clients and with our clients. So if they're
Right.
telling us remote, we're remote. And currently right now in Pittsburgh, we're all remote. So
Right.
our local office is also closed down at the moment. You get a waiver if you're required to go in by a client, but right now none of our clients are saying that.
What about you,
Give
Han?
us
Any
30-day notice.
Yeah, so we're probably going to revisit and look at everything again after Labor Day just to see. But as of right now, we have no timeline as to when we plan on going back.
Okay, good. So thanks. So in terms of CGI, it's just getting closely aligned with their customers and making sure we understand their criteria, as well as Han is saying right now, there's a September deadline. So I want to wrap up this, and there's a statement that Michael Steiner, who comes and listens quite often, that I just want to share. Relationships are important in Pittsburgh. This work from distance for the next year ahead is an opportunity to initially connect and later move new people to Pittsburgh. Sounds like a great opportunity, especially for us. That's a guy with the glass half full look and a big, very bullish on Pittsburgh. But I think that everyone needs to know that the websites, you should know everyone's websites. I believe CGI's website has been posted, as well as TeleTracking. If not, it's really easy to find out what they're hiring for. And hopefully, but we've shared the emails of both of you, and people can reach out. I know this is just a small amount of time, but hopefully it gave our listeners a little bit of a peek into what the opportunities are and what lies ahead for both of the companies here. So you're growing and you're committed to the region, and you're supporting work from home or work remote, and realize that school is coming in session too. So I know that that is going to affect all of us who are parents of kids who are in schools. So the word is flexibility, right? It's adaptive and flexible. So I want to thank CGI and I want to thank TeleTracking, both Will and Han, for the time that they've spent today, and for everyone who has joined us today. You heard that we have a packed week coming up, and we'll see you tomorrow. So thank you all for joining, and thanks, Will and Han.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.